Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So we're discussing this masla here of a free man marrying a woman upon making khidmat for a year as the meher, or upon teaching her the Quran. They say, we say that in this case she's going to get meher misal. Imam Muhammad Rahman says she'll get meher misal, but in the case of the khidmat case, he says there the value of his khidmat, right? And then the other one is the slave boy. He marries a woman with the permission of his master upon serving her for a year. Then everybody says here, jaza walaha khidmatuhu, and she will get that service because the service of the slave is something of value, right? وقال الشافعي رحمة الله لها تعليم القرآن والخدمة في الوجهين. Imam Shafi Rahman says that for her is the ta'lim of the Quran, right? She's going to get that. That would be her meher. He'll have to teach her Quran. And in both cases, whether it's a slave boy marrying or the free man marrying, he says, then there also, that will be his meher, he must serve her for the year. لأن ما يسله أخذ العوض عنه بالشرط يسله مهرا عنده. Because he says that which taking a compensation on behalf of it with a condition is suitable, right, will be suitable for a meher according to him. In other words, if you can do a sale like this, a trade like this, where the man comes and he tells a person, I will serve you for a year for maybe 100,000 rand, for example, right? So, and he agrees. So that's it. So so you could make a transaction like that. You understand it? Um, So therefore, I will teach you Quran, right, for the year. I'll teach you Quran, and this is how much I will charge. So you can do a transaction like that, right? لأنه بذلك تتحقق المعاوضة, because with that, right, with what, with taking a compensation, a transaction of exchange is realized. A transaction of exchange is realized. In other words, so this is a transaction of exchange where you pay for his khidmat. Wasora. So he says now, this وصار كما إذا تزوجها على خدمة حر آخر برضاه وعلى رأي الزوج غنمها. So now he says, even you say. So he's giving two examples where Ahnaf also say that you're allowed to. So he says this is just the same as when he marries her upon the khidmat of another free person with that person's happiness. So what he's saying, I'm marrying you and your meher will be the khidmat of that man. He's going to serve you for the year. Then that is valid according to Ahnaf also. Or, or he says, I'm marrying you and your meher will be that the husband will graze your sheep for the year. So they say that is also according to Ahnaf. Imam Shafi say, even you, Ahnaf, is saying that's permissible. So what's the difference between this one and that one? Is the same. ولنا أن المشروع إنما هو الابتغاء بالمال. Our dalil is that which is legislated is to seek what wealth. In other words, وَأُحِلَّ لَكُمْ مَا وَرَاءَ ذَلِكُمْ أَن تَبْتَغُوا بِأَمْوَالِكُمْ. You must seek your wives with wealth. In other words, you have to pay meher in order to get your wives, right? Right. وَالتَّعْلِيمُ لَيْسَ بِمَالٍ. And teaching is not wealth. وَكَذَلِكَ الْمَنَافِعُ عَلَى أَصْلِنَا. Likewise, all benefits upon our usul is not wealth, right? So even when you say that a free person is going to serve you, in reality, that is not wealth, right? And you need to seek what wealth, and that is not wealth. It's a different thing when you're giving some value to it out of necessity. The man comes, he's having to work for you from 8 to 5. How much you going to pay me? So he said, okay, I'll give you 300 rand, for example, right? So that 300 rand, you're giving some value to his service out of necessity, right? But in reality, that service is not wealth. It's not something of value, right? Then the question comes about, but what about the khidmat of the abd? So you say, وَخِدْمَةُ الْعَبْدِ ابْتِغَاءٌ بِالْمَالِ لِتَزَمُّنِهِ تَسْلِيمَ رَقَبَتِهِ. And the service of the slave is actually seeking with wealth. Why? Because of it including the handing over of his neck. You understand? So basically, when the slave now is doing khidmat, then that amounts to wealth. Why? Because a slave boy is something of value. So when you hand him over, you're handing over something of value, right? And now he does that service. So the service also got value now. So that slave is actually his service amounts to wealth. وَلَا كَذَلِكَ الْحُرُّ. And not like that, like that, the right. ولأن خدمة الزوج الحر لا يجوز استحقاقها بعقد النكاح. Right. So the free man is not like the slave because his service doesn't amount to wealth. You understand it? But the slave service amounts to wealth. Right. And then he says here, and because this is the second dalil now, why you can't, the khidmat of the husband is not suitable as a meher. That the khidmat of the free husband, its deserving is not permissible with the transaction of the nikah. In other words, uh, the transaction of the nikah takes place, and the khidmat is not wajib upon the husband, khidmat of his wife. You understand why? Lima fihi min qalbil mawdu'i. Right? Because of what is in it from the reversal of roles, changing of that which is something has been placed for. You understand? So there's in other words, the actual thing is the wife supposed to be making the husband's khidmat. Now, you understand? So he paid now in order to get the service, the khidmat from the wife. But now you're saying he must make khidmat of the wife. You understand? It doesn't mean if she's sick in it, he can't serve. It doesn't mean he can't make a khidmat. But what it means is not it's not ingrained in the transaction that he has to make a khidmat, right? بخلاف خدمة حر آخر برضاه. Contrary to the khidmat of another free man, what is happiness? لأنه لا مناقضة, because there is no contradiction now. You understand? When it was the husband making the wife's khidmat, there's a contradiction because the wife supposed to be doing the husband's khidmat. But if it is somebody else's, another man that has to make the khidmat, another free man that has to make the khidmat, then there is no clash there because you understand there's no qalbul mawzu, there's no reversal of roles there. وبخلاف خدمة العبد لأنه يخدم مولاه معنى حيث يخدمها بإذنه وأمره. And contrary to the service of the slave boy, because he is actually making the khidmat of his master indirectly. In this way, that he is making her khidmat with his command and his permission. So when he is serving her now, right, he's actually serving his master. So there's no reversal of roles there. You understand? Although you'll say, okay, but he's the husband, so how come he's serving his wife? So we say there's no reversal of roles there because he's actually serving his master. Because the master told him must marry her, or gave him permission. So when he's serving her, he's actually serving his master. So there's no reversal of roles. وَبِخِلَافِ رَعْيِ الْأَغْنَامِ. And contrary to tending or grazing the sheep, لِأَنَّهُ مِنْ بَابِ الْقِيَامِ بِأُمُورِ الزَّوْجِيَّةِ فَلَا مُنَاقَضَةَ. Right? And contrary to grazing the sheep, because it is from the chapter of seeing to the affairs of the marriage, standing up with the affairs of the marriage. In other words, if your wife came with a whole flock of sheep, then it's only a part of the marriage that you are going to tend to that sheep. You understand it? So there's no contradiction here of roles here. It's not like you making a service. It's just part and parcel of the marriage that you'll also be doing, helping her. You understand? With her wealth also. Ala annahu mamnu'un fi riwayatin. Right. Besides the fact, right? So normally when Imam Shafi'i has to bring a situation as a backup, then he used to use something that's unanimously agreed upon. So he say, even you Ahnaf, you also say that the grazing of the sheep is suitable as a meher. So we say, so first we gave the one answer. You understand? Because this is just doing something for the marriage, right? So we say, except that in one riwayat, according to us also, it is not allowed. What is not allowed? uh, one riwayat according to us is not allowed that tending to her sheep must be the meher, right? Although the chosen riwayat is that it is allowed, that for Ahnaf also. But in one riwayat, according to us also, it's not allowed, right? ثم على قول محمد تجب قيمة الخدمة. Right. Then upon the call of Imam Muhammad, right, the value of the khidmat becomes wajib. What we said becomes wajib, we said mehre mithal. But Imam Muhammad Rahmanahi says the value of the khidmat. Why? لِأَنَّ الْمُسَمَّى مَالٌ. Because that which was mentioned is actually wealth. So he says that the khidmat of the husband, khidmat of the man, the free man, amounts to wealth according to him, right? إِلَّا أَنَّهُ عَجَزَ عَنِ التَّسْلِيمِ لِمَكَانِ الْمُنَاقَضَةِ. Except that the husband is unable to hand over it because of the clash, the contradiction there, that he'll be serving the wife now. You understand it? فَصَارَ كَالتَّزَوُّجِ عَلَى عَبْدِ الْغَيْرِ. So it becomes just like when a man marries upon the slave of someone else. So he marries a woman, he says, that slave is your meher. And it turns out that slave is not his slave, so he can't hand her over as a meher, but it's somebody else's slave. Right? So since he can't hand over that slave, right, he pointed out the slave to his wife. He said, there's your meher there. This is my slave, there's your meher. Got married and found, no, it's not his slave. He was lying. Or maybe he didn't know. Right. So now what's the masla? The masla is you must give the value of the slave. So Imam Muhammad said, yeah, also, he pointed out something that is mal, but he cannot hand it over because it's a contradiction, right? A reversal of roles. So therefore, he must give the value of the service. You give out the value of the 1 year service, and that's how much he must give her as a meher. Leave it till there.